In this world, there are forces that do not roar, yet can shatter mountains with a glance. There are men who appear no different from mortals, aged, weathered, seated quietly with a cup of wine in hand, yet within them slumbers a storm capable of overturning heaven and earth. And there are moments when a single careless word becomes the spark that awakens that storm. That day inside the bustling, vast water city, amidst the scent of wine and the murmur of worldly laughter, no one realized they were about to witness what happens when a dragon chooses to open its eyes. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Nothing in this world could elude the cycle of life and death. Sun Tai gazed at the father and son before him and slowly revealed a faint smile. In that final moment, as the last embers of his life burned away, his expression was serene, like an old pine standing unshaken amid the falling snow. After hearing Wang Lin's promise, Sun Tai cast him a deep, lingering look. He etched into his soul the face of the man with whom he had once shared both enmity and fate. His vision blurred, and in a sudden daze, it seemed as though he had returned several centuries to the past, to the Rain Celestial realm, where storms once raged across the heavens. Countless memories flashed before his eyes, rising and falling like drifting clouds, until at last they settled upon the calm, yet slightly aged face before him. So the distance between life and death is truly this short. Sun Tai smiled faintly and closed his eyes. In that instant, the aura of death surrounding his body surged to its peak, then vanished completely in the next breath, as though it had never existed. Grandpa's son. Wang Ping's eyes reddened. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he looked upon Sun Tai's tranquil face, and he began to sob. Wang Lin let out a quiet sigh and gently rubbed Wang Ping's head. His own eyes remained calm, deep as an ancient well. He had long since seen through life and death, seen through reincarnation itself. Such matters were like drifting smoke to him, visible yet unable to leave a lasting trace upon his heart. Sun Tai was buried behind Fallen Moon Village, in the small graveyard where all villagers who passed away would find their final rest. Wang Ping personally carved the tombstone. Upon it he inscribed Sun Tai's tomb, inscribed by his grandson Wang Ping. When Wang Ping was 12, Sun Tai had adopted him as his step-grandson. Wang Lin had not objected. Sun Tai was after all far older, old enough to be Wang Ping's grandfather in truth. As for the relationship between Wang Lin and Sun Tai, they had stood as peers. Yet deep within his bones, Sun Tai had always carried a profound respect for Wang Lin, just as Wang Ping did. There was no body within Sun Tai's grave. His mortal shell had already been reduced to a jar of ashes, now resting quietly inside Wang Lin's bag of holding. This had been Wang Lin's promise to him. At 16, Wang Ping had grown even more handsome. Standing beside him, Wang Lin appeared markedly older. The years had stripped away Wang Lin's youthful features, and with them the subtle interest the village women once held in matchmaking for him. Yet as Wang Ping matured, that same interest quietly shifted onto his shoulders. Still, Wang Ping was much like his father. Though striking in appearance, he carried himself with extraordinary composure. He spoke little, but within his eyes lingered a trace of quiet wisdom beyond his years. 1 year after Sun Tai's passing, Wang Lin sat in the courtyard with a block of wood in hand, carving with meticulous care. Wang Ping sat beside him, silently observing. His father's face bore even deeper wrinkles now, as though time itself had taken a chisel to it. Without lifting his head, Wang Lin said calmly, "To carve one must pour the heart into every stroke. Each line must be engraved not only in the wood, but in memory. Only then can one be called a true craftsman." Wang Ping nodded. He picked up a piece of wood of his own and began carving carefully. Beneath the setting sun, the shadows of father and son stretched long across the ground. Their movements were strikingly alike. Even their bearing seemed carved from the same mold. As the sun sank below the horizon, their silhouettes gradually faded into twilight, but the subtle charm they exuded seemed destined to endure far longer than daylight itself. When darkness finally enveloped the earth, Wang Lin lit the oil lamp in the courtyard. Its warm glow flickered softly. "Have you finished thinking?" he asked evenly. Wang Ping set down the half-finished statue and lowered his head in silent contemplation. Wang Lin did not press him. He merely picked up the statue Wang Ping had carved and examined it. Though the workmanship was still rough, it had captured nearly 30% of the spirit. The statue depicted Sun Tai in his prime head, raised arrogantly toward the heavens, hands forming a seal. A strange aura gathered about him. Clouds coiled beneath his feet, rendering him like a celestial figure descending from legend. After a long pause, Wang Ping spoke in a low voice. "Father, why won't you allow me to study the immortal spells Grandpa's son left behind?" Wang Lin sighed inwardly. In the end, Sun Tai had not truly respected his wishes in this matter. Using the pretext of adopting Wang Ping, he had secretly passed down cultivation techniques. Nothing of this had escaped Wang Lin's awareness. Had Sun Tai not strained himself in imparting those methods, he would not have died 4 years earlier than fate had ordained. Wang Lin was not the kind of father who ruled without thought. He looked at Wang Ping, the child who bore his mother Liu Mei's features, yet over 16 years had come to inherit his own calm disposition. Whenever Wang Ping's eyes gleamed with that quiet wisdom, Wang Lin felt as though he were gazing at another version of himself. He withdrew his gaze and said softly, "Because the life of a cultivator does not suit you." A faint smile curved Wang Ping's lips. "Father, I never cultivated those techniques Grandpa's son gave me. Not even once." Wang Lin nodded. Of course he knew. After a moment's hesitation, Wang Ping lowered his head. "Father, you are an immortal too, aren't you?" Wang Lin's eyes revealed the weight of countless years. "Not an immortal," he replied slowly. "Merely a cultivator." Silence fell between them. Then Wang Ping asked, "Do you wish for me to live an ordinary life and not follow your path?" The moon rose steadily into the sky. Its gentle radiance carried a hidden chill as it spilled across the courtyard. A soft breeze caused the lamplight to sway its flame, flickering as it mingled with the pale moonlight. Wang Lin set down the statue and looked up at the heavens. His voice seemed distant, almost erratic. "Yes, if Pinga is unwilling." Wang Ping raised his head. For the first time in 16 years, he spoke to his father in such a tone. Wang Lin's gaze settled upon him. He said nothing, merely looked. Time trickled by like sand through unseen fingers. Under that unwavering gaze, Wang Ping gradually lowered his head, unable to meet his father's eyes. "The life of a cultivator is not suited for you. Do not bring it up again." Wang Lin's voice was gentle yet firm. Hidden deep within his eyes where Wang Ping could not see was an intense sorrow heavy as a mountain. "Yes, Father," Wang Ping replied bitterly. "I will not cultivate." Wang Lin turned and entered the house. As he crossed the threshold, his voice drifted out, "Pinga, drink your medicine." Wang Ping remained seated for a long time before sighing. He rose and followed his back, faintly desolate. Wang Lin had never displayed tyrannical authority. Yet in Wang Ping's heart, his father's presence loomed vast and unshakable. He had no strength to resist. He could only comply and live an ordinary life. Other than cultivation, Wang Lin's voice came slowly after Wang Ping had finished his medicine and lain down. "I can give you everything in this world." Wang Ping closed his eyes and said nothing. In the darkness, Wang Lin sat alone in the courtyard, gazing into the night. That same sorrow flickered once more in his eyes. Time passed like moonlight in darkness. You never see it arrive, and by the time you notice, it has already settled upon the earth. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed since Sun Tai's death. Wang Ping was 19 now. He had grown into a striking young man. Though a faint trace of youth lingered upon his features, it was barely discernible unless one looked closely. He resembled Liu Mei more and more with each passing year. Wang Lin, by contrast, had aged further. 19 years had carved deep lines into his face. On the 19th year since Wang Lin's arrival at Fallen Moon Village, he packed his belongings and prepared to leave with Wang Ping. When they departed, Wang Ping's childhood companions gathered to see them off, most of them young women. Their gazes toward Wang Ping were tinged with resentment. The Zhou family's second daughter in particular looked especially aggrieved. Wang Ping, however, remained indifferent. He had inherited Liu Mei's beauty, but his temperament was Wang Lin's. Matters of the heart did not easily stir him. Over 19 years, villagers had been born and had died. One generation faded, another rose to take its place. Compared to when Wang Lin first arrived, nearly 3 or 4 out of every 10 villagers had already passed on. The burly man of the Zhou family still stood tall, though age now weighed upon him. He clasped Wang Lin's hands and said sadly, "Brother Wang, nearly 20 years have gone by in the blink of an eye. I still remember when you arrived with Pinger. Now you're leaving." Wang Lin smiled faintly. "Brother Zhou, you've shown us much kindness all these years, but the child has grown. It is time for him to see the world." The burly man sighed, glancing at Wang Ping, surrounded by village girls. "Seems my second daughter lacks the fortune." Wang Lin chuckled. "It is my boy who lacks it." Not far away, Wang Ping said softly, "Take care, all of you." Then he returned to his father's side. Suddenly, one girl ran forward, face flushed. "Wang Ping, will you come back?" Wang Ping halted. Without turning around, he replied quietly, "Most likely, I won't." The girl's eyes reddened. Tears streamed down as though she could hear her own heart shatter. "I hate you, Wang Ping," she cried before running away. Wang Ping frowned slightly and said nothing as he rejoined his father. The burly man cupped his fists. "Brother Wang, take care." "Take care," Wang Lin replied warmly. Then he turned and walked away. Wang Ping followed a few steps behind. After a moment's hesitation, he glanced back at the girl, fleeing in tears, sighed softly and continued onward. Catching up to his father, Wang Ping frowned. "Father, why are those girls so troublesome? Especially Zhou Rotong." Wang Lin laughed, casting a sidelong glance at his son. With Liu Mei's features, Wang Ping's handsomeness carried a faintly demonic allure. "Do you not like the Zhou girl?" Wang Lin asked, a smile that was not quite a smile upon his lips. Wang Ping sighed. "I don't like her. It's just that, when she was crying, I felt a trace of reluctance in my heart." Although water covered most of planet Ran Yun, vast stretches of mountains and land still rose proudly above the seas. Though the catastrophe years ago had thinned the planet's spiritual energy, it remained slightly richer than that of planet Suzaku, like a wounded beast that still retained a trace of former majesty. Between the famed mountains of Ran Yun, the figures of a father and son could often be seen. They climbed peak after peak, standing upon the summits as though they had ascended to the very crown of the world. From those heights, they gazed upon the shifting earth and the overlapping clouds. The land below seemed to shrink beneath their eyes, as though the horizon itself could be grasped with a single glance. At the mountain's peak, the wind whistled fiercely past their ears. Wang Ping stood there overlooking the world beneath him. In that moment, it felt as though his soul had undergone a silent transformation. With each mountain they crossed, his once fragile body gradually grew stronger. In his eyes, everything about his father was magnificent, whether it was the 19 years of tranquil life in the village, or this present journey that seemed like a challenge hurled at heaven and earth alike. After traversing mountain after mountain, Wang Ping's mind broadened immeasurably. It was as though, in wandering the world, he had forgotten all trivial concerns. Though only his father accompanied him, the mountains, the rivers, the sky, and the boundless land itself seemed to acknowledge his presence and travel alongside him. There was no loneliness, only the liberation of spirit. No matter how perilous the cliffs, they could not halt this father and son. No matter how towering the peaks, they were eventually trodden beneath their feet. Though Wang Ping's body remained mortal, his heart was reforged time and again upon those summits, tempered until it reached an entirely new realm. To experience life through mountains, to calm the mind through ascent, to feel the grandeur of heaven and earth with each conquered peak, yet never to be cowed by that grandeur. He continued climbing, refusing to yield. With a mortal body, he inherited Wang Lin's heaven-defying will. Wang Lin did not teach him a single cultivation method. Instead, he used his own way to temper Wang Ping's soul. Thirsty, drink from a mountain spring. Hungry, eat wild fruits and hunt roaming beasts. Tired, rest upon the earth. Sleepy, lie beneath the open sky and let heaven itself serve as your blanket. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. During those years, Wang Ping's reverence for his father deepened ever further. In his heart, Wang Lin was the most extraordinary man beneath the heavens. After the mountains came the rivers. The shadows of father and son appeared along vast waterways that wound across Ran Yun. They stood before surging currents, listening to the near heaven-defying roar of rushing water. Upon a solitary boat, Wang Ping's evolving heart and gaze drifted forward. As the vessel cut across the river, it pressed onward against the raging waves, challenging their might. Wang Lin and Wang Ping left their traces along the great river that encircled much of the planet. Laughter rang out more frequently from Wang Ping's lips. Clear, bright laughter accompanied by Wang Lin's deep, hearty mirth. Such laughter was rare for Wang Lin, yet when it emerged, it carried a warmth that seemed to infect the world itself, making Wang Ping's joy all the more boundless. It felt as though so long as his father stood beside him, nothing beneath heaven could truly threaten him. Father Wang Ping once declared upon the river, his voice firm as steel, "I will accompany you for this entire lifetime. Even in death, if reincarnation exists, even if we are no longer father and son, I will never forget you." The solitary boat journeyed downstream, crossing more than half of Ran Yun before reaching the ocean. Their trek across land had ended. The voyage upon the sea had only just begun. As their vessel rode the ocean winds, Wang Ping's world expanded without limit. Islands slipped past one by one. Waves rose and fell like breathing giants. He witnessed heavenly lightning crash upon the sea's surface. He saw a whale vast as a village break through the waters. He even beheld a mirage shimmering upon the horizon, illusory yet breathtaking. The sea's vastness dwarfed that of the land. To Wang Ping, the boundless ocean resembled his father, seemingly endless, unfathomable, stretching on without conclusion. After merging his spirit with the boundlessness of the sea, the ferocity of the mountains, and the unceasing flow of rivers, Wang Ping began to sense the true might of the world. When Wang Lin and Wang Ping finally returned to land 5 years later, Wang Ping had been utterly transformed. Though still immortal, his soul now encompassed heaven and earth. The final mountain they crossed upon their return was Quilian Mountain, near Fallen Moon Village. All traces of childishness had vanished from the 27-year-old Wang Ping. His eyes brimmed with unwavering resolve. Over 8 years of wandering, the faint demonic allure in his features had gradually faded, replaced by a pure and striking handsomeness. His sharp face carried a smile bright as sunlight, and eyes even brighter. Wang Lin looked at him and smiled faintly. This journey had long been his chosen method to purge the resentment buried within Wang Ping's soul. Liu Mei's medicinal pill and Wang Lin's spells had only eliminated the greater portion of that resentment. It had been too deeply intertwined with Wang Ping's very essence. Over 20 years of peace, it had gradually weakened. Over 8 years of soul-tempering travel, it had been cleansed bit by bit. Unknowingly, only a single sliver remained. That sliver could not be removed by pill or spell. Only the cycle of reincarnation could erase it completely. Standing beneath Quilian Peak, Wang Lin glanced toward the distant mountain village and asked quietly, "Do you wish to look?" Wang Ping shook his head. "No." Wang Lin said nothing more and began ascending the mountain. Wang Ping followed, laughing lightly. "Father, when I was young, I heard people say Quilian Peak has celestial clouds. They claimed that one breath of them would keep sickness away for 10 years. I always wondered when you would bring me here." Wang Lin smiled faintly, his gaze gentle. They gradually reached the summit of Quilian Mountain. Countless clouds drifted around them. It felt as though they were walking upon the heavens themselves. Wang Ping inhaled deeply, then looked at his father. Though Quilian Mountain was immense, it could not compare to this man. Though it towered high, it did not surpass his father. In the distance, dark clouds gathered. Lightning flashed, thunder rumbled. The raw power of heaven and earth drew Wang Ping's gaze. Soon thunder roared louder. A damp wind swept past, followed by rain. The dark clouds spread rapidly. The downpour intensified. After a long drought, dust upon the earth rose into the air. Yet before it could ascend far, it merged with the falling rain and was forced back down. The dust was like heaven-defying cultivators who sought to rise to the heavens only to be struck down by the rain. Just as with cultivators, how many specks of dust could truly ascend? Thunder and rain came swiftly and departed just as swiftly. Throughout it all, the father and son stood calmly upon the peak. Though rain fell across heaven and earth, not a single drop touched them. When the storm passed, the clouds parted, revealing a rainbow that seemed to hang from the sky itself. Brilliant and resplendent, its 7 colors intertwined in harmony, faintly echoing the Tao of the heavens. Yet that tranquility was suddenly shattered by a piercing whistle. From afar, a flying sword streaked across the sky with a thunderous boom as though it might cleave the rainbow in two. A middle-aged man stood within the sword's radiance. He carried the air of a celestial being, poised upon a green blade that gleamed coldly. As he passed overhead, he noticed Wang Lin and Wang Ping standing atop Quilian Peak, and was visibly surprised. For mortals to climb so high required extraordinary resolve. A flicker of admiration crossed his eyes, but he did not stop. The sword light carried him beyond the mountain and into the distant horizon. Wang Ping stared until the figure vanished. It was the first time he had witnessed such a sight. His heart trembled violently, and for a long while he couldn't calm himself. "Father, was that an immortal?" he murmured. Wang Lin sighed softly. "Yes." After a long silence, Wang Ping lifted his bright eyes and asked gently, "Father, can I truly not cultivate?" Wang Lin's gaze fell upon the fading rainbow. Deep within his eyes lay an unmistakable sorrow. He did not answer, only shook his head. Wang Ping said nothing further, his eyes fixed upon the direction where the sword had disappeared. After descending Quilian Peak, Wang Ping fell into complete silence. They walked along the main road into a town, then boarded a carriage bound for a great city. Along the journey, Wang Ping did not utter a single word. Aside from the coachman, only father and son rode within. Wang Lin gazed out the window. In his eyes, sorrow deepened, and beneath it lingered an indescribable bitterness. The carriage remained silent for a long time. At last, Wang Ping lowered his head and whispered, "Father, I want to cultivate." This was the second time he had said those words. The first had been 10 years ago, when he was 17. Wang Lin did not withdraw his gaze from the passing scenery. Calmly, he replied, "You are not suited for cultivation." Wang Ping looked at his father's silhouette and asked unwillingly, "Why?" Wang Lin turned his head. Just as he had 10 years prior, he did not explain. He simply looked at Wang Ping in silence. Outside, the steady rumble of carriage wheels rolled across stone and earth, marking the passage of time. Finally, Wang Ping lowered his head once more. "I understand, father." Wang Lin withdrew his gaze so that Wang Ping would not glimpse the sorrow hidden within his eyes. No one knew the true reason he forbade Wang Ping from cultivating. Sun Tai did not know. Wang Ping did not know. Only Wang Lin himself understood. And he could not speak of it. For Wang Ping's sake, he could not. It had nothing to do with Liu Mei. Wang Ping did not hear the faint sigh that escaped his father's lips. Wang Lin stared out at the vast wilderness beyond the carriage, silently pondering. Inside, Wang Ping sat the same way, head-lowered, thoughts churning. The silence between father and son thickened heavy as mist before a storm. After a long while, Wang Ping turned to look at his father. From the side, the lines on Wang Lin's face seemed deeper than before, etched there by years and unspoken burdens. Wang Ping's heart clenched. "Father, I was wrong," he said softly. Wang Lin turned and offered him a gentle smile, yet said nothing. Vast Water City was the secondary capital of one of the 3 great empires on planet Ran Yun. Though not the true capital, its prosperity was second only to it. Built beside a grand river, it teemed with life lanterns, glowing merchants shouting. the fragrance of food drifting through crowded streets. The carriage rolled through the city gates and stopped at a station. Wang Lin and Wang Ping stepped down and entered the bustling world within. Wang Ping had never seen such a vast and lively city. His eyes wandered in every direction, curiosity rising like spring tide. The gloom from earlier gradually faded from his heart. Wang Lin led him into a rather lavish restaurant in the Eastern District. A waiter hurried over with a practiced smile and seated them by a window. Before long, fine wine and fragrant dishes were placed upon their table. Perhaps it was Wang Ping's striking appearance. But no sooner had he sat than he drew the attention of many women in the restaurant. Their gazes lingered curious and admiring. Wang Ping had long grown accustomed to such looks during his youth in the village. He paid them no mind. Wang Lin didn't touch the food. He lifted the wine jug and drank calmly. Wang Ping sampled a few dishes, tasting but not indulging. Setting the jug down, Wang Lin said evenly, "From now on, we will live here. First, we must purchase a house." Wang Ping nodded with a smile. "Father, this place is quite good. After years among mountains and rivers, entering this bustling city feels like stepping back into the mortal world." A sneer drifted over from a nearby table. 3 people sat there. One was an elderly man, clad in fine silk, dignified in bearing. Though his eyes appeared dim with age when they opened, they carried an unmistakable noble authority. Beside him sat a young man and a young woman. The young man was handsome and poised, dressed in a purple robe embroidered with golden threads, clearly of great value. The young woman appeared to be in her 20s, her black hair cascading like a waterfall. Though not breathtakingly beautiful, she possessed a refreshing elegance, like a lotus emerging from clear water. It was the young man in purple who had sneered. He turned toward the woman and laughed lightly. "This country bumpkin is amusing. First time entering vast water city, and he talks about being accustomed to mountains and rivers, as if he's only now stepped into the world. Ridiculous." His voice was not loud, but it was precisely measured, so the words reached Wang Ping's ears. Wang Ping frowned slightly but remained silent. Wang Lin raised the wine jug and drank, his gaze sweeping lazily across the 3. The woman frowned faintly. "Is it truly amusing?" she asked. The young man chuckled. Junior apprentice sister Qing Yi, how could it not be? Annoyance flickered across her face as she turned away. The young man let out a cold snort. The real reason for his mockery was simple when Wang Ping had entered. This usually indifferent woman had raised her head and looked at him. If not for her, a man of his status would never dine in such a common establishment. He turned back toward Wang Ping, eyes darkening. If that face of his had been born on a woman, he said lightly, she would surely be an enchanting beauty. What a pity it's wasted on a man. Though, as a male courtesan, he might do quite well. At that, Wang Ping set down his chopsticks. He turned calmly and looked at the young man. "What a fine face," Wang Ping replied evenly. "Had it been born to a person, he would be quite handsome. Unfortunately, it was given to a beast. What a pity." The young man's expression instantly darkened. Before he could respond, the old man beside him frowned and barked. Since when are such uncultured brats allowed into Jingya Xuan? No manners whatsoever. Let this old man teach you discipline. As he spoke, he flicked his chopsticks forward. They shot through the air like twin bolts of lightning aimed directly at Wang Ping's shoulders. If they struck, Wang Ping's arms would be crippled. The moment the chopsticks flew, the young woman gasped and rose, intending to intercept them. Yet just as they neared Wang Ping, they lost all force. The chopsticks dropped harmlessly beside him with a soft clatter. Wang Lin's eyes had turned cold. He set down the wine jug and stared at the old man. Just one glance. The old man's entire body trembled as if countless thunderbolts had exploded within his mind. That gaze was like a peerless sword, piercing through his eyes, tearing through his consciousness, plunging into his soul. It shattered mental defenses, extinguished spiritual fire, and cracked his golden core. His body stiffened as though struck by heavenly lightning. Hands and feet quivered uncontrollably. This. His mind shook violently. His scalp tingled with terror. Agonizing pain erupted between his brows as though a blade had cleaved through his skull. His heartbeat thundered in his ears, wild and chaotic, threatening collapse. Cold sweat drenched him instantly. He felt like a mortal stripped bare before an unstoppable foe. His entire being teetered on the brink of destruction from a single glance. A thread of blood tinged faintly with gold trickled from the corner of his mouth. A crack had appeared in his golden core. The old man was a core formation cultivator. The young man in purple was merely at chi condensation. The young woman had not yet reached foundation establishment. For a core formation cultivator to attack a mortal so viciously, and worse, to dare raise a hand against his son, Wang Lin's killing intent surfaced without hesitation. The old man's chair shattered beneath him. He collapsed to the floor, face pale as death. With trembling hands, he swallowed several pills and crushed a jade slip to send a message. The restaurant fell utterly silent. Most patrons were frozen in confusion. A few sharp-minded individuals quickly paid and slipped out. The young man in purple stood stiffly, shock written across his face. Yet instead of checking on the old man, his gloomy eyes fixed on Wang Lin and Wang Ping. The young woman stared blankly, unable to comprehend what had just transpired. She had never imagined such a scene unfolding. "I do not require you to teach my son," Wang Lin said coldly. He withdrew his gaze, lifted the wine jug once more, and took a long, unhurried drink. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.